Hi, my name is Angel, and welcome to Stories at theway.la. Today we have a special guest, and his name is Samuel.
What's up?
Hey, Samuel, how's it going?
Good.
So a little bit of Samuel. He's on the other side of today. He's usually the host for what we do these moments of Stories at theway.la. And so today we're going to be learning more about Samuel and his journey. But Samuel, can you just tell us a little bit about your life? How was that growing up? Like, what are some things, some challenges that you experienced?
Yeah, so right off the bat, obviously I look a little bit different for anyone who hasn't seen me on the stories. I don't have any hair. So I have no eyebrows, no eyelashes, no hair on my head, right? And, ever since I was 2, I was like that. So my hair started to fall out when I was young. My parents took me to the doctors, and the doctors told them it's called alopecia, specifically alopecia universalis, which is an autoimmune disorder where your immune system attacks your hair follicles. So I haven't had hair since I was 2 years old. And I've looked, of course, very different. A lot of people, even when we would go out, another challenge I would encounter is just looking different and having to deal with looking so different. A lot of times people who, would go through similar challenges, whether it be alopecia, whether it be, whatever challenge they might go through that causes them to look a little different, they may encounter bullying. For me, when I would go out into public with my mom and my dad, all I would see is comments, stares. People would say stuff under their breath. Little kids, you know how kids are. Kids are super bold. Like, they'll come out and be like, why are you bald? Like,
oh my goodness.
I'm like, I can't explain the whole thing to you. Like, so there was moments for me when I was younger where, growing up, I encountered a lot of rejection. And I encountered rejection at such a young age that it was a lot for me to handle. And I didn't have a relationship with God super young. I mean, we were in and out of church. We were going to church, and that God was all around me. But I never really had a personal relationship with Jesus that I could lean on in that moment when I was questioning why I looked so different.
Oh, wow.
And why I was being rejected and bullied, So that was one of the biggest challenges for me that I would definitely say I encountered.
Yeah, so in your challenges, would you say that was the only thing that was there? Like, how was your family? Like, did that factor into, being bullied? Like, how did that factor in with your family and how they took that? And did you voice that to them?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely did voice it to my mom, to my dad. I would come home crying sometimes because I would be dealing with so much bullying. And I'm talking bullying to the point of physical bullying, where people are pushing you or beating you up, things like that, just because you look different. And like, I don't know how to fight, of course. And I'm feeling like I'm a nice kid growing up in church and like with my family. My family's all saved. We would go on mission trips. We loved God. But behind the scenes, I was dealing with a lot of insecurities, and I didn't know how to handle those on the inside of me, let alone handle things that were happening on the outside of me. And so in school, I'm dealing with these things, come home, and my parents would be right there encouraging me, helping me get through these things. But again, there was only so much they could do. They weren't God himself who could help me get rid of these insecurities. A lot of times people wouldn't even say anything. I was still tripping on stuff that was a year ago or tripping on stuff that was months ago. I needed healing, and my parents couldn't provide necessarily that for me. So I did, look for healing and acceptance, in lust. At a young age, I was so rejected that I needed some sort of comfort. I needed some sort of acceptance. And what I looked for was, I remember I was super young, man. I was like, probably like 9 or 10 years old. And I remember on my little PSP, like game system or whatever, I was able to encounter pornography right there. And at so young, I remember I was like, what is this? And what happened was I got locked in. And from that age on, for the next, it was like years that I was now enslaved to feeling comforted by something that was so fleeting. I remember being in school, and I could never see girls the same. I could never see them the same. I could never see girls even in church the same, because I was plagued with now this mindset of getting a physical pleasure when the inside of me was completely destroyed and insecure and so rejected that I was just looking for anything that I could to make me feel better about myself.
In your journey with that, experiencing that, what were some additional consequences that led into like how did you get set free from that? Like, what was a turning point? Like, what was a turning point for you? Like, what would you say like helped you navigate away from that?
Yeah. Well, I would say I reached the turning point once I was sick of it. So what I did was that pornography went into dating and relationships, even in like middle school. I remember holding hands with different girls and I would call them my girlfriends. My parents thought it was like cute and stuff, but behind the scenes, they didn't know I really liked them like that. But as I got older, I started pursuing music. And that with rap and with music and stuff, like a big thing with the culture is get girls and, live this life and, not knowing that maybe there's those insecurities that I was dealing with on the other end of that screen with some of those people, some of those rappers or whatever. But I just was obsessed with this idea of being a rapper. And I started learning how to rap, learning how to sing at a super young age. My dad even bought me a studio. But as I was pursuing this dream of music, I still had these insecurities. I still had this pornography addiction, still had this rejection, and I wasn't able to get over it. I was able to mask it with the attention that I would get from people through my music and through my gift, but I was never able to actually get set free from it until it came to a place where I was sick of it. Now, how that happened though, was I also had to be sick of the rejection and I had to be sick of the insecurity because that was tied to it. I was running to less because of that. So when I was 16 years old, I had an opportunity to take my singing and to go and audition for the show The Voice. So I was always like after music, and at that point in time, like I kind of thought I knew God, and I thought I knew what God's plan was for my life, and I thought God's plan for my life was to be famous. And I was like, I'm gonna be famous, I'm gonna be known, I'm gonna be the best, and then that's it. End of story. There was no purpose tied to it. There was no I'm going to help people get set free. There was none of that. It was just I'm insecure and I need something to fill that void. I'm rejected and I need to feel accepted. I need to feel the attention of others. And so what happened was I go on the show. I go through all the process. I'm singing, all of that. I actually make it to TV in front of all of the different judges. And it was crazy because I'm literally 16 years old. I auditioned for the show at 15.
Oh my goodness.
So it was crazy. So a whole year goes by of me on this voice singing. And I remember I'd never had so much positivity around me at one time. And you can almost get addicted to things like that, And so I'm there, I'm on the show, I sing my song, and I finish my song. I'm like, man, they're totally going to turn around. I'm psyching myself. I'm like, this is my purpose, this is my destiny. Here we go. I finish the song, no one turns around. That same feeling that I had when I was younger, being bullied. I'm now 16 now? Years of rejection, years of insecurity, even years of like lust and the damage that it had done to me, of even feeling just destroyed inside. All that came up at once. And I felt it being confirmed now with something that I pursued with my whole life. I was chasing after music for years. And then this happens. I was mad at God. I was mad at my parents. I was mad at myself. And I didn't know what to do. And then what happened was years after that, I ended up speaking at different events and things like that. And even ministering to some of the alopecia community as well.
Oh, wow.
Which was great. God began to use me there, but I still was unfulfilled. I knew I was gifted. I knew that I still had these insecurities and I didn't know what to do about them. They would come up from time to time, but I felt like I still wasn't living my purpose. And it wasn't until I got out of high school and I really came into this place where I was like, man, forget music. Forget God, forget my family, forget everyone, even forget myself. I'm just going to chase after these desires that I have, almost like an animal, be instinctive. I'm going to go do whatever I want. I grew up in church. I grew up on mission fields. Like I was rapping in Guatemala to kids that had never heard of rap before. I was helping them understand the gospel to what I thought I was doing good. I thought I was going to heaven. And then what happened was my parents divorced at 18, and at 19, once I got out of high school, like I'm saying, I went straight to sin. I moved out and I started living in Hollywood Boulevard. I remember I stayed in an apartment right there. My dad was paying my rent right there. He said, I'll pay your rent as long as you continue to go to school. I was going to Musicians Institute school. And I was going there to pursue that dream, to pursue whatever I needed to pursue at the time for my career. So what happened was my dad, we talked about it. He covered my rent. And every single week, I was on dating apps. I was connecting with different girls. And all I was doing was what I was doing when I was young, trying to fill that void in my life, trying to feel secure when all I felt was pain.
Wow.
And I couldn't get away from it. And it wasn't until I literally said, I'm done with my own life, that I then realized that I need help. And what happened was I was rapping on the streets in Hollywood. As people would pass by, they'd throw a couple bucks in the can, literally be rapping. All I knew was I was gifted. That's it. still trying to pursue this dream of being a rapper. Like so done with music, so done with myself, but still just for some reason, still pursuing this. Felt enslaved to the sin I was in. I'm talking about drinking, smoking, a different girl every week, and just blocking them after having relations with them. I remember cursing people out. I used to dress different. I got a gang of tattoos that were godly tattoos so I could justify the way that I was living. I was not on the right path, but I was deceived. And what happened was, as I came to the end of myself, I remember coming back, living with my mom. Mom sends me to my uncle's house, who's a worship leader. And I came to this place where like, man, I want to kill myself because I am full of myself. I'm done. I know that I'm the problem. I can't fix me. So I'm done. So I'm the problem. I'll just accept it. So I was 5150. They put me in a 5150 hospital.
Oh, wow.
And they literally gave me a hospital room. And I was right there. And I had my little Gideon Bible. And it was just me in that room. And I felt so alone. They wouldn't even let me out. So I just began to pray. God got me out. They sent me back to California. I'm moving with my dad. And then I ended up getting a message on Instagram from someone who used to go to school with me in Upland Christian Academy. So when I was young, I went to Upland Christian Academy. It's Abundant Living, the school that's attached to that. And this girl named Caitlin, she reached out to me. She said, hey, I have my pastor. He's a youth pastor. He sees that you do music and he sees that you've been speaking and he really wants to connect with you and have you come speak at the camp. I didn't know who this youth pastor was. I had no idea. You know, I had went, by the time she sent that message, I had moved from my dad's to my mom's. I was so unstable. So I'm with my mom now and I get this message from Pastor Gabriel. He says, hey man, you know, we have a youth camp and I want you to come up and speak and, you know, do some music. And I'm like, okay, cool. Another opportunity. I'm excited for opportunity. Yay. I can do that. My gift, I can do that.
Right.
Little did I know God was setting me up. I meet with Pastor Gabriel because I'm sure he wants to know me before he just lets me speak to his kids. Right? And he didn't know all the stuff I was going through.
Yeah.
But he began to mentor me. We met. He began to mentor me. We met at Starbucks. I think it was near Irvine. We were meeting for 6 hours, sitting down. I'm sure he was planning on having a 45-minute meeting.
Oh my goodness.
6 hours. I didn't even know he was Pastor Marco's son. And I'm talking with him, and in the middle of the conversation, I'm pulling up my shirt, showing him my tattoos.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, look, bro, like I was drinking the other day. I was doing this the other day. I told him about the girl that I was like trying to do things with. And like, he told me straight up, he's like, yeah, bro, like, that's not good.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I casted a demon out of somebody who had a tattoo at one point.
Oh my goodness.
He's literally what he told me. He was straight up with me. I was like, what? I had never heard that before. It blew my mind. I was like, whoa, like, so there's a possibility that there could be a demon in me. And I was like, man, I knew that I was troubled. I knew I was going through this. I just began to tell him that, man, you know what? I need to follow you. I need to learn from you. And what happened was I ended up cutting off a relationship in that same meeting with a girl that I was doing stuff with that I shouldn't have been doing. And I ended up literally saying, bro, I need a place to stay. And he said, you know what? You can come live with me. I said, wow, let me talk it over with my mom first, because I always trusted my mom and her discernment and stuff. And then I'll get back to you. That week, I moved right in. He always tells a story of how, you know, he lives in San Bernardino. And he lives in he used to, you know, live in San Bernardino. Now he's in LA. But he lived in a place in San Bernardino where there was like a lot of gang violence. And I had I'm from Orange County, Newport Beach, like beach boy, like with no hair, like straight up flip-flops, like can't surf but acts like it. Like, you know, I was not gang related. I'll say that. Gabriel, he tells me to go to his house. I'm showing up at his house. I pull up in my car and I have an all red jumpsuit on.
Oh, no way.
I pull up. I got my tattoos, my bald head. I'm like, what's up, Gabe?
Oh my goodness.
And he's just like, bro, what are you doing, bro? Get inside. Don't you know where we're at? Oh. So I go right inside. I'm like, oh. And I just go right inside. Like, I didn't know the problem. You know? But I go inside and I start meeting these other guys that he's mentoring and discipling.
Wow.
And from that point on, he just began to disciple me, help me get set free from demons, help me get healing. I had my dad blocked because of all the things that the enemy was deceiving me of. And my dad had cheated on my mom, you know, so that was big for me. And you know, I was mad at God for that. And what God helped me do was forgive him, unblock him, release him. And when I did that, That's when I got set free from the rejection. That's when I got set free from the insecurity. And then when I forgave everyone who had bullied me, I got set free from the lust. I got set free whenever I found the root through God's presence. God helped me do it, and he did it through someone else who could bring direction to my life. Listen, if you're listening right now and you're a believer and you don't have a mentor or someone who's going to disciple you and train you, you need to get under someone. Find a church, get under a pastor, because you may hear the voice of God, but you may not know how to respond. God will show you how to respond through your mentor. Find a mentor. Pastor Gabe, man, he's definitely played a major role in my life. That's really the story of really like what happened. I mean, from the moment that I said yes to moving in with Pastor Gabe was the moment I chose discipleship.
Oh, good.
I knew about who God was, gave my life to the Lord at a young age at 7, was going to church, never had a real relationship with him until I was sick of my sin.
And so what is, I don't know if everybody just listening to this is powerful. Samuel, he's over here sharing these things. And so what does your life look like now? You being to where you were as 7 years old and growing up with all these things and even having Pastor Gabriel as a mentor. But what does your life look like now?
Yeah. Well, I never thought that I would meet my wife at the Way World Outreach Church, but Pastor Gabe is great at, helping me with things that I've never done before. I never thought I'd actually have a faithful marriage, coming from a divorced home. And then, she came from a divorced home. My wife is Alexis, right?
Wow, there you go,
and,
Alexis.
she's awesome. And I met her in the church shortly after, a lot of the deliverance and discipleship and leadership even came into my life. And I began to, lead a service in the youth. And, I was leading the home that I was in originally with Pastor Gabe. Pastor Gabe moved out. I took over that home, turned it into a aging out foster, youth group home.
That's awesome.
Where we just took in kids from the streets, young adults, and began to disciple them and began to help them. And once I moved out of there, got married. After I got married, I was there in San Bernardino for a year, and then now I'm in LA.
Yeah,
and we launched, multiple campuses together. We launched our Carson, our South LA campus. That's at 6 p.m. once a month. We still have that going. And we have our San Gabriel Valley campus now at AMC. And so God's been good. Me and Gabriel moved to Compton with our wives, and and it was powerful, man. God's just been so good, and all I do is just say yes. I just keep saying yes. And then now I'm the assistant campus pastor for the San Gabriel Valley campus. God has been really good, and sorry, bro. Super powerful.
And just a little bit of, Samuel, your journey, your story, and to share a little bit as well. Like you have your little son, like your little boy Ezra.
Yeah.
And I have the privilege of being able to, see you and you being a father. And I hearing your story of as you had that relationship with your dad, but knowing that you changed the script with Jesus in your life. And so I'm the first one to be able to witness that in a full effect. And, it's very humbling to be able to see a dad like you, to be able to, a husband, a father, a pastor, a leader, the way you lead. And it's inspiring. And, for me, as I see I could look up to him. I see him as someone that could be able to help me, to guide me. And so for you, what would you share with someone that's, going through any type of struggles or anything that you've experienced? And how would you bridge them to be able to see this Jesus relationship, that's something that I could be able to chase after, see it worked for him. If it worked for him, could it work for me? What would you share with those people?
Yeah, no, I would definitely say, go all in. You have nothing to lose. The enemy, he wants you to believe that God's going to take away all the good things in your life. That's what he wants you to believe. But don't trust yourself with what you think is good. Right now, God is going to show you what's good. All you have to do is just take it one step at a time. Just begin to trust him. Devote your life to him. And then from there, go to his word. Let his word tell you what's good. And then you'll know what you shouldn't have in your life. God will show you, and you'll be able to make the choice. But don't believe the lie that the enemy comes to give you something that God will give you, because that's not the truth. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But God and Jesus came to give you life and life to the fullest. That means that we cannot fulfill our own life. Only Jesus can fulfill your life. Only Jesus can give you completion, and only Jesus can give you satisfaction. Depend on him. He accepts you because he loves you. And so choose him every day and get a mentor in your life. Don't go another day without finding someone who's going to teach you about God.
Thank you so much, Sam. I appreciate you being able to share that. It's definitely just being able to have this moment was very inspiring for me as well. And I can't wait to hear all the stories that are going to be coming from this, from your testimony. And, keep doing what you're doing. Keep being that amazing leader, that father, that mentor for people. And they really need to be able to see you in full effect because you are a loving person and so gentle and kind. So thank you, Samuel, for that. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Way LA stories. We appreciate you for tuning into our stories. We would like to be able to share with you. Just like, subscribe, comment, and you could also be able to join the community to be able to see more stories here at the Way LA. God bless you.